On Monday, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered soldiers into separatist territories in eastern Ukraine, confirming fears of a Russian invasion. It was unclear whether soldiers were moving, but Putin's ambiguous proclamation described it as an endeavor to keep peace. But it seemed to crush any residual chances of preventing a big European battle that may result in huge fatalities, energy shortages, and global economic catastrophe. Putin's order came hours after he acknowledged the separatist territories in a lengthy history lecture. The decision enraged Western officials who saw it as a violation of global order, and prompted a frantic response from the US and others. On Monday, the UN Security Council agreed to a rare late-night emergency meeting called by Ukraine, the US, and others. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy tried to reassure the nation, saying, "We fear no one nor nothing. We owe no one anything. We will not give anything away." The White House banned US investment and commerce in the separatist areas, and further steps, presumably sanctions, were expected Tuesday. Those penalties are separate from any preparedness for a Russian invasion, a senior administration official told reporters on the condition of anonymity. The events come amid an increase in eastern conflicts that Western nations fear Russia may exploit to assault the Western-looking democracy that has withstood Moscow's efforts to re-enter its circle. Putin defended his move by blaming NATO for the present situation and describing the US-led alliance as an existential danger to Russia. He presented today's Ukraine as a new fabrication closely tied to Russia, spanning over a century of history. Mr. Poroshenko argued that following the demise of the Soviet Union, Ukraine was exploited by the West to restrain Russia. "I feel it important to recognize the independence and sovereignty of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics," Putin declared. Later, 8 years after combat between Russia-backed separatists and Ukrainian troops started, Putin signed decrees recognizing the territory's independence and called on MPs to accept legislation allowing military assistance. But Moscow denies it, claiming that Russians who fought there were volunteers. At a previous Security Council meeting, a stream of high officials urged for the region's independence. Someone argued they should be part of Russia's territory, but Putin promptly corrected him. Recognizing the separatist area's independence is likely to be popular in Russia. State media show crowds in Donetsk setting off fireworks, waving Russian flags, and singing the Russian national anthem. Meanwhile, Kiev residents reacted angrily. Then why should Moscow recognize them? Would you listen to your neighbors if they said, "This room is ours"? It's always going to be your apartment. Maria Levkishchina, 48, a painter from Kiev. Let them recognize their desires. This may trigger a conflict, since ordinary people will fight for their nation. The US has warned that Moscow has already chosen to invade with 150,000 soldiers massed on 3 edges of Ukraine. Still, Biden and Putin provisionally agreed to a meeting mediated by Macron to prevent conflict. So long as Russia doesn't become involved, there's still hope for diplomacy to avert a war that might wreak immense fatalities and economic devastation throughout Europe, which relies largely on Russian energy. Putin stated Monday that a mere delay on Ukraine's entrance to NATO would not be adequate. Moscow has also requested that the alliance stop sending weapons to Ukraine and withdraw its military from Eastern Europe. Macron's office claimed both presidents agreed the notion of such a summit, which would be followed by a larger gathering of important stakeholders to discuss European security and stability. Meanwhile, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said the administration was always willing to dialogue to avoid conflict, but also ready to fight. Putin's declaration broke a 2015 Minsk peace pact forcing Ukrainian authorities to provide rebel districts substantial self-rule, a diplomatic victory for Moscow. Many Ukrainians saw the settlement as a sign of weakness, a betrayal of national interests, and a submission. According to Putin and other officials, Kiev has showed little interest in executing it. Since 2014, when Russia invaded Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, over 14,000 people have been murdered in eastern industrial heartland fighting. flashpoints multiplied. On Monday, heavy bombardment resumed along the tight front line. Unlikely, Russia claimed to have repelled an invasion by Ukraine, which Kiev disputed. And Russia agreed to keep military training in Belarus, which might be used to strike Kiev. Hundreds of explosives each day have been blamed on both Ukraine and the separatist insurgents. In fact, AP journalists reporting from many towns and villages in Ukrainian-held territory along the line of contact have not seen any significant escalation from the Ukrainian side and have recorded instances of increasing separatist shelling that damaged houses and tore up roads. Residents of Donetsk, the largest rebel-held city, reported periodic Ukrainian bombardment, although not on the same magnitude as early in the fighting. Ukrainian bombardment killed 4 people and injured numerous more in the last 24 hours, separatist officials claimed Monday. The Ukrainian military reported 2 troops died over the weekend and another was injured Monday. Ukrainian military spokesperson Pavlo Kovalchuk denied retaliating. Ekaterina Evzeva, 60, of Novognativka, on the government-controlled side of Ukraine, claimed the shelling was harsher than early in the war. "We're on the verge of a nervous breakdown," she added, shaking. "There's nowhere to hide."